my thing about being mentally tough is the fact that it doesn't matter what you're doing, it takes a mindset to be able to be successful at what you're doing. And so we're going to talk through all of that this evening. One of the things that I have done over the years is we did start Women in HVACR. It's now INWIC is gone international. So it's been an interesting journey since 2002. So we can talk through that later if you'd like. That, if you've got questions afterwards, I'm happy to bring some of that up and some of the things that we've learned over the years and getting more women into the industry. So today what we're going to do, or this evening what we're going to do, is we're going to talk about mental toughness. Okay, let's try that one. Let's do it that way. All right, so we're going to talk about it. What is it? How do we negotiate? And we're going to talk about some negotiating things. Who has kids? Who is married? Any of you? Okay. It's really fun to do this on your spouse because they don't know what you're doing first, and then all of a sudden they'll get it. And it's fun to do it on your kids if you have kids too, because they get it also. But the thing is, when we do the negotiation piece of it, we ask questions a little bit differently, and I'm not going to blow it. So we'll talk about sales, rational versus emotional, and staying neutral. So why do we want to focus on mental toughness? All right. Whatever you're doing in life, seriously, if you're selling, it depends upon being mentally tough. Now, how many of you sell? Raise your hands. Everybody down online should be raising their hands too. Everybody sells. You sell your students on doing the things that you need them to do. We sell to our spouses, husbands, wives, kids. Kids are great at this. Let me tell you. You sell your friends on doing things that you want to do. I mean, we all sell. All right. It's not those just like the salesperson who sells. We all sell in everything that we do every single day of the week. And once you get into that and realizing it's not the salesperson, we are consistently trying to get our ideas across, persuasion, and getting people to say, yeah, let's do that. Or you'll come up with idea A and somebody else has idea B. You talk about it, you get idea C, which is better than A and B. That's all sales. It really and truly is. Nobody thinks about it like it, but it really and truly is selling. So negotiation depends upon being mentally tough. And motivation, you really want to get what you want. And sometimes it's A, B, and C comes out better than A and B. Now, I'm a numbers geek. All right. I have degrees in chemical engineering. I ended up loving numbers. So everything I do has a relationship to dollars, profitability, everything that we do, everything that you do, in terms of either personally or professionally, you've got to figure out what you want. And then once you figure out what you want, then you're in a situation that says, okay, how do we get what we want? And sometimes it's putting money away. Sometimes it's having a profitable business. Sometimes it's working your way up in an organization. It just kind of depends upon what you want. And there's no right and wrong answer. All right. Now, for those of us who have children, my daughter's now 34. All right. So my child rearing years are over. Yes. I know she's turned into this phenomenal adult. She really and truly has. I really love the adult she's turned into. And I tell her that all the time. But the reality of it is if you're going to raise kids, it's all negotiating. How many of you had kids in the grocery store and the kid sees a candy bar on the counter as you're checking out and going to pay and goes, Mom or Dad, can I have that candy bar? And what do we say? No, right? And the kid says what? Why not? Right? He says, because it's too close to dinner and you'll spoil your dinner. No, I won't. You want me to go on? We'll go on and on and on and on and on. But the reality is kids are really, really good at negotiation. They don't hear the word no. They just don't hear it. And then we turn into 10 and 12 and 14-year-olds And all of a sudden, we start getting afraid of the word no. I don't know whether that has to do with being I'm not a psychologist. I have no idea. But in all reality, we stop being unafraid, or we start getting afraid of the word no. So for all intents and purposes, all of our friendships, all marriage is definitely a negotiation. And all of our human interactions in school, in our jobs, in what you're doing, really and truly involve being mentally tough and figuring out what you want, what they want, and sometimes coming up with something better than either of you started with, okay? So my first question to you is, how well do you know the people around you? It's an interesting question. You may know them really, really well, you think. And then they surprise you. Like, where did that come from? Type thing. So the reality is really understanding good likes, dislikes, things that make them happy, things that motivate them, all the different things that are important to that person, so that you learn as much as you possibly can and be able to do what's good for them, good for you, and good for everybody. All right. In the US, there was a guy, American football. All right. There was a guy by the name of Russell Wilson, who was the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. And everybody told him he couldn't do what he could, do. He was too small. He was too this, da, da. He became the number one quarterback of everything. And it was all about the fact that it wasn't good, bad. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It was what it was. All right. So it's not positive mental attitude or negative mental attitude. It's like, okay, here we are. We can't do anything about what's happened in the past. Can any of us go back? I don't think so. I don't think any of us have a time machine to go back, right? Can we go forward? No. We're here. All right. This is what we know. This is where it is. This is what we would like. Okay. So focus on the outcome you want and go for it. Okay. So I'm going to give you some potential business outcomes. You want to raise? You want to go to a conference? You want your prospective customers to buy? I should probably add, I want a higher grade. What can I do to get a higher grade? All right. So those are some potential business outcomes. Some potential personal outcomes are, you want to go on vacation. You want your child to clean up their room or keep it clean, or you want time for yourself. Okay. So how do you look at it? Do you look at it like this? Like, ugh, I really don't want to talk to that person. I really don't want to go to my boss. I really don't want to go to my professor. I really and truly don't want to do this because of what? The fear of the outcome. It would be a whole lot better if you approached it like this. A nice, sweet pussycat who's there to pet and everything else along those lines. So raise. Or for those of you who will be at some point in time getting a job, right? They offer you a salary, and what do you say? I was hoping for this. Why would you accept the first salary offer? Seriously, why would you do that? Because they're expecting you to negotiate. And they will give you brownie. Well, do you know what brownie points are over here? Yes? No? Okay. How do I explain brownie points? It's well, brownie points are where you're in a situation where you do something extra and you get something for it. Yeah. You get credit for doing something extra. But, you know, you're going for your first jobs, the three of you at some point, right? And they're going to try to get you for as little as they possibly can. That's their job. And you're trying to get what? As much as you possibly can. And when you go for raises and you want more raises and all that sort of fun stuff, go for it. Ask for it. So does the person have the authority to give you more money? They may or may not. They may have been told this is what it is, and they have to go somewhere higher up to get more money for you guys. And what's their personality style? And this is not a personality style lecture or anything like that, but if you just take the humans have been divided into four major categories. Every single researcher has four categories. Some call them colors, some call them animals, some call them like Myers-Briggs, which is IMDJ or whatever else it is, but nobody's gotten any more than four. I happen to use something that's called DISC, and it's looking at it in terms of D is dominant, I is good, influencing, C is cautious, careful, S is steadiness. So people who are very task-oriented, Ds and Cs, have a tendency not to care about people's feelings. Get the work done. All right, that's how you are going to be graded. People who are Is and S's don't generally worry about getting the tasks done. They'll interview really, really well, but a lot of times they can't do it. All right, they'll make friends. They'll absolutely make friends. And D's and I's are extroverted, meaning do not have a problem telling you what they think. And C's and S's are introverted. So, Dr. Gee, in your class, there are some people who raise their hand all the time, right? They're the extroverted types. And there are some people, even if they know the answers, are going to sit back and just not say a word. And you have to what? Call on them if you want an answer, correct? And those are your introverts. It's not that they don't know it. It's just that they don't feel comfortable raising their hands. So if your boss is a DC style, how do you think you're going to get a raise? Just the facts, right? Task orientation, they could care less about feelings. If your boss is an IS style, they're going to care a whole lot about the feelings and making sure that everybody's comfortable and things along those lines. All right, so kind of know when you guys are going for jobs, who the interviewer is and see what their style is. Are they into the A, B, C, D, E? You know that they're very task oriented. If they're more into the, you know, tell me about this, tell me about this, how did you feel about this, tell me about a time that you did X, Y, Z, they're more of the IS. And so you can get into more of a conversation with them. Okay. So getting your first job or getting a raise is not about your past performance. It's they're betting on you that if they give you this raise or they hire you, that you're going to do something really, really, really good for them. All right. They're giving you a raise on a bet. They're hiring you on a bet. And sometimes the bets work out. And sometimes they don't. Okay. So it's not what have you done for me lately. It's what are you going to do for me tomorrow? All right. So let's say I want a raise or I want my first job. So explain what you've done. I've been in school and I've got my PhD and this is what I worked on and this is how I can help the organization. And you're basically selling yourself in terms of what the future value of you is. Right? You know, if that person is very task oriented, as you can tell by having the conversation with them, you're going to say, I went to school, I did this, 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 and this. And if I do this, 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 and this, in the next 6 months or years, look how much more revenue the company will have, or look how many more pounds will save, or whatever else it is. So you have to demonstrate your future value. All right. So this is Ruth in math, okay? Let's say your current earnings are 50,000 pounds and you want to earn 55,000 pounds. Company gross margin is 25% and payroll taxes are 30%. Probably in some areas they're more. So I want you to explain how you will generate 55,000 pounds times 1.3, which is the amount of the payroll taxes, or 71,500 pounds is what you are going to cost with that raise. Okay. So you have to figure out how to help the company generate an additional 286,000 pounds. Can you do it or not? I mean, this is what they're looking at. They may not tell you that, but this is what they're looking at. If we hire you, or if we give you this raise, can you generate this amount of additional revenue for the company, or save us that much money? So don't look at it, it's like, okay, everything at some point in time from a management perspective gets put into pounds and pence. All right. So that's the way I would look at it. Now, let's assume you want to go to a conference. Okay. So determine the cost, conference fees, travel, meal and hotel, and your salary while you're away. And so let's assume the conference fee is 449 pounds. The travel and meals and hotel is another 1,000 pounds. Salary while away is 1,000. So the total cost for you attending this conference is 2,449 pounds. And let's assume the same gross margin. So as a result of going to this conference, you have to generate for the company 9,796 pounds. How are you going to do it? What is this conference going to do that you can do it? So by going to this conference, I know that we have to increase our revenue. What did I say? Yeah, back. By 10,000 pounds. Let's just call it 10,000 pounds. How are we going to do that? You let me go to this conference. This is what I'm going to learn. This is how I'm going to increase revenues by 10,000 pounds. All right, now we'll get into the real salesperson. What's in it for them? What will your product do, and how will the purchasing make them feel? Imagine if. And demonstrate, obviously, the future value, which is what we've talked about. All right, now, my two favorite things. Somebody tells you no. You just answer no and keep your mouth. Because what happens? He who speaks first loses, number one. But when the person starts explaining, well, this is what I needed you to do, you'll get to the bottom and the real thing. All right. So when your kid says no to you, or your wife says no to you, you just go no and be quiet. I did this with a lawyer one day and I timed it. It was 32 seconds. Try being quiet for 32 seconds. Take your cell phones out and try being quiet for 32 seconds. It's tough. I got what I wanted because he spoke first. All right? Keep quiet. All right, so that's my favorite thing. And then you can always rephrase the statement into a question. So your kid comes to you and says, I want a candy bar. You say, you want a candy bar? And what does the kid start doing? Explaining why he wants the candy bar or she wants the candy bar. Or a student comes to you and says, can I get some extra credit? And you just go, extra credit, and be quiet. And you can find out why they need the extra credit. It may not be what you think. And then you have a decision to make. So always rephrase questions, especially when you're getting into some sort of negotiating. And we're all negotiating. We're all selling. All right. So those are my two favorite things to do. And your spouses hate it. After a while, they get it. And it's like, oh, just, and it's always so much fun to do, but then we have a real conversation. All right, so you can do the same thing with going on vacation, your child to keep his room cleaning, you want time for yourself, you want better grades. The question is, what do you want? Life happens. It's not positive or negative. It just happens. And what's your reaction to the event? I think as we get older, quite frankly, we get less emotional about stuff that happens. I remember getting upset about things in my 20s, like now forget it. I don't care. I mean, it is what it is. It just happens. You're too young yet. At some point when you're 60 some odd years old, like I am, you look back and you go, gee, she said that was going to happen. And it does. You just lose. Okay, it's another part of life. Done. We're there. So the thing is, you don't want to react like this. You want to basically stop and figure out and get to neutral. Can we make good decisions emotionally? No. If you got married, your answer was an emotional yes or an emotional ask. And some of it works out and some of it doesn't. Right? All right. So you want to get to neutral as fast as you can. Take the emotion out. If you can get to rational, that's even better. But the reality is no decision long-term, the exception of marriages that have lasted a really long time, were good emotional decisions. I don't know anyone other than a few, like my parents, like Bob and I were. It just doesn't. There's no good things that happen. All right. So good decisions actually require rational thinking. You got to get to neutral. All right. So talk it out. You can go run marathons like I used to. The C's and the S's will withdraw to figure it out, or withdraw until somebody figures it out for you. It's your choices. And dwelling on the past, welcome to the lunatic asylum. No illusions, no delusions, no biases, and figure it out. What can you do now? What can you do today, this week, and this month? And just do it. And you can evolve to where you want to be. All right. So I would strongly recommend that you read these two books. It Takes What It Takes. Trevor Mowat unfortunately passed away. And he wrote another book right before he passed away called Getting to Neutral. So both of those books look really well. He gives you the step-by-step thing to basically stop emotion like that. And that works. And never split the difference. Chris Voss is an interesting character. Chris Voss was the head negotiator worldwide for the US in all the hostage situations. And he truly had life or death negotiations. If they did the wrong thing, they're dead. And a lot of the questioning and the no and the things like that come as a result of Chris Voss. The one thing I will also tell you that he points out very specifically in the book is if somebody says to you, you're right. Because a lot of times people tell us that. They don't agree with you. They're just saying you're right. They're not saying they agree with you. If they say that's right, they're agreeing with you. Subtle, but works. All right. Questions? Go try it on your professors. Go try it on your kids. Promise you this works. And just stay, as unemotional as you possibly can and look at it from a perspective, it is what it is, and deal with it. All right. Questions? Questions from you guys that are online? All right.
Just comment. When I argue with my wife and I take the emotion out of it, she hates me. I just sat there all passive going, what?
Yeah.
She's far more emotional than I am.
Yeah.
You know, you hate arguing with me.
So
She's the one that turned us off.
yeah, and then at some point she'll stop being so emotional and she'll start coming back and you'll have a decent conversation. Huh?
I'm still wrong.
From her perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not necessarily wrong, but from her perspective, you were.
Definitely.
Yeah. So try the no on her or try doing the question into the question. Maybe.
One of my sons, I might try that.
Okay. So from there, but thank you for your time this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You just escape out of here.
Exactly. It's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
All right, Carol, you're up. Why?
Because I think I need to be a little more technical. But I think.
All right. Hello everyone. Thanks Lucy again for your interesting presentation. And two booths.
Yes.
So
But you can take the math and you can put everything that you do into a mathematical equation.
that's where my notes. Yeah.
And you can do math.
I can't use my.
You know, business-
Yeah.
They have to do a vision or they have to do a differential equation. They go, eh.
Okay, the second presenter I think today is Ms. Carol Smith. So I would like to have a brief introduction about Carol. Carol previously served as a federal program manager at Hewlett Packard. Yeah. Before transitioning to the renewable energy industry, she has held a leadership position at SolarWorld, working with utilities, and this is a company name, and large EPCs on the development and the construction of utility scale projects before moving to complete SolarArray, a nationwide residential engineering procurement and construction company. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Carol, and hand over to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So where's the drive?
I just pointed it at the.
What did you point it?
Yeah. That's good.
This one
Yeah.
or D?
Yeah, it's okay. It's the same.
Okay.
To share the
And
screen.
then we're gonna.
Already share the screen.
Yeah. From the beginning. I guess I should enable content. Yeah. Can you see it? Yeah. I got a security alert. You hear it? No,
Because enable.
hold on.
Yeah.
Try to enable it. That's not.
That's enable.
I don't see it. It's giving me a security alert.
It doesn't like you.
That's fine.
Happen. Try this. Which one? This one, yeah. The second.
Yeah. Mm-mm. I think we need to go outside of this window because there's a window behind here that's popping up. Oh, wow. This is really.
Let me close this.
Yeah, I would see if you can close it hard.
Let's
Yeah,
close
there you go.
Yeah.
Do a control alt delete. Well, then you're going to lose everybody. Huh? Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Open. Mhm.
Unable, yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay,
Very good.
yeah. So where's the camera? Where am I supposed to be looking? Yeah. I broke that too.
Mhm. Why they can't use this?
Fine, it's work.
okay.
Yeah, I'll just have to use
Yeah.
these, yeah,
Yeah.
or one of these. Okay, yeah. So how many of you are into renewables? Oh, you're all into renewables? Which renewable? Solar, wind, bio, yeah, geothermal?
Yeah.
Oh, I like geothermal. It complements well with solar. So, yeah. Well, I worked in IT manufacturing for most of my career, I think 27 years. I worked in startups, Pyramid Technology, Amdahl, large mainframe, and then I went to Hewlett Packard. And then I decided I wanted to do some work in emerging markets. So because emerging markets, when I started in IT, was laptops and printers. So and that turned out to be solar as an emerging market. So solar has been around for over 42 years. It's actually been longer than that. But it is, did it go? Yeah. It's still a startup. So, yeah. It's not, yeah, keyboard, it's not moving. Yeah,
No, I just
Yeah.
pointed the
Yeah.
thing at the next slide and that's how I moved it.
it's not moving.
Oh,
Oh, then let's try this again.
Maybe.
So it should have moved here.
The mouse.
Mm.
Yeah, in the bottom, all day,
Mm.
use that mouse.
This mouse?
Yeah.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, but that's
That's-
the keyboard.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's not wireless though.
Yeah, wireless.
What about this keyboard?
Mm.
It's there it
Oh,
goes.
okay.
Did it?
Yeah.
Wait. What did you do? How did you do that?
It's this.
Okay.
This, yeah, left area.
Okay.
In left area
Okay.
for the next slide.
Left and not right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's strange. Okay. Yeah. So as you can see, solar's been around a long, long time, right? So Albert Einstein actually created, popularized the photoelectric effect. His published paper. And then I'd say in 1960s, really the Germans took over. So, a lot of solar has been German engineered. A lot of the patents are with in German solar manufacturers. Even though in Germany is probably more far advanced than any country in terms of solar at this point in time. I think the US is coming on strong and the rest of Europe as well. So, but it's a 45-year-old startup. It's still cowboy country. Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah. Mm. The reason why solar is because you can harness the sun, right? It's just a natural resource. You're not using fossil fuels. It's clean energy. It's easy. It's quite inexpensive, and you get a better return on your investment. So it has been around about 100 years. It used to be for the uber rich because it was so expensive at one point in time. I think when I got into solar, you guys are all technical, so it was like $8 a watt to install, and that was all in. So when you look at a module and it's 400 watt, it's $8 per watt, right? So you're paying almost $70,000 to $100,000 for a system, small footprint on maybe a 5 kilowatt system. Now it's gone down. It's about $325 a watt. If you're paying more, walk away. So and that's for residential. If you're working in utility, it's less than $1 a watt most of the time. So. But now with climate change and the reduction in price, newer technology, it's gone down substantially. So solar can be for everybody.
moving forward. As a matter of fact, in the US and California specifically, you're seeing it come on to other states. It's mandatory when you buy a new house, it has to be pre-wired for solar and you have to have solar panels. So there's a huge push in the US to go into renewables. And I'm surprised that England's not going to do that, because I was reading about England. You're at 14 gigawatts in solar, and by 2030, you're going to be at 70 gigawatts. And Ruth and I we flew in Friday and got here Saturday, and we took the train up to Cardiff for a couple of days to do some hiking and looking around. And I was looking at the rooftops and I was going, wow, we saw some solar out there, but they're not large roofs. So your footprint, you don't have a lot of capacity to put on that roof. And then to be optimal, it has to be south facing. So if you go west or north, you're going to lose up to 25, 50, maybe 25 to 50% of your production. So you're not going to get your offset that you anticipated. So I'm just wondering, because how the US is doing its utility scale, commercial, it's large rooftops and residential, they're making up their capacity. So I'm just trying to figure out, how's England going to do that? 70 gigawatts, and you think 1 megawatt takes 4 acres, right? And you're an island. So we've got, I mean, what? England fits in Texas? Yeah. So
Yeah, a piece of Texas.
piece of Texas. So I was going, wow, how is that going to happen? But my understanding, England's going to go to net zero. It's all going to be renewables, what, by 35?
50, yeah.
58, yeah. So it's going to be quite impressive. But I'm assuming they're going to do solar utility scale projects offshore as well on the water, just like the wind. So, because I just can't imagine 70 gigs. So it's going to be an incredible undertaking. And we're going to be splitting it up with geothermal, wind, bio, yeah. So because waste to energy hasn't proved to be successful, so it's got to probably be those three, if I'm understanding things correctly. Yeah, I kind of got off here. It's not working again. And I'm doing left click. I just need to go one up.
Yeah, go put the mouse on the next slide that's on the left.
Oh, okay.
And that works.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we kind of discussed this, but I guess why are millions of people now choosing to go solar, and what's changed? There's been a lot of change, right? In the US, and actually over here now, I've found out there's innovation in financing. In the US, people like to live in a lot of debt, so they buy everything on credit. So we have a lot of loans, residential loans. And also there's what we call power purchase agreement. Wall Street has gotten heavily involved, high yield investors, especially if they need a tax deduction or they have a lot of debt or equity they want to invest. Plus on PPAs on these utility scales, what they do is they do a return on investment over a 30-year period now. JP Morgan Chase about 5 years ago was able to get that approved. They actually get up to a 28% return on investment through a PPA. So they'll charge it, they'll lock in a rate, price per kilowatt with maybe a 2% escalator over time. And then after depreciation after 7 years, locks in, but a 28% return on for investors with a guaranteed annuity coming in, residual income coming in, is a nice little package. So you're seeing a lot of PPAs from a lot of capital that's been induced in the market. A lower cost of acquisition. Again, solar's gone down significantly. Over here, you've got grants. You do have tax incentives. You get what, the 20% off for your VAT. Which I think is wonderful. You get that up front too, where we have what we call the investment tax credit we have to file. with our tax credit, right? And then you have smart export guarantee, which what we call is net metering. So you're going to be feeding into the grid, and your excess is going back into the grid. The utility is going to get their renewable credits because they get credits for that from the public utility commissions. And then you should actually get some money back out that usually after 12 months. What they do normally is a true up after a 12-month period, and they'll give you credit on your next bill or cut you a check. So in some markets, they have SREX markets. So anything that you have excess out in the market is a commodity, and they actually sell them on the stock exchange. So fourth thing is popularity. It's become really cool to go solar. So is it the millennials? I don't know if it's Gen X and millennials are really big into sustainability. Houses are new houses have to be sustainable. Contractors usually get credit for it. And it's just the right thing to do. And I'm going to say my first 25 megawatt project powered 6,000 homes. And I'd worked in IT. I was laptops, printers. I was at the beginning, right? That was the best feeling I ever felt. I felt like I contributed something to be able to participate in the development of a utility scale project that was going to give renewable energy to 6,000 homes. So it was my first feeling of accomplishment in my career, to be honest with you. So also there's going to increase awareness and concern for climate change. And climate change is real. So I'm glad people are aware of that. They're trying to make some moves to help participate and also reduce the use of fossil fuel. And we're going to try this. Yeah. Okay. So since 2017, the solar industry has seen a year-over-year growth of about 10%, and that trend is expected to continue. I think these numbers are wrong. I think it's gone up 20%. The only thing that holds this growth back is the manufacture of solar panels. Every year, this is the first year in 13 years I've known it, we actually have a glut in inventory at the end of the year, Christmas time, because usually everybody's scrambling to try to get their systems installed to get the tax credits for the year. So usually there's not enough solar panels. We're all running out. They're all allocated, and you're having to wait till the following year. So, and we can't keep enough production. They're opening gigawatt plants everywhere. One of the things that has slowed down is the trade with China. China saw the solar industry as a market to dominate, and they're actually trading. So with China, if the government subsidizes a product, they can't legally trade it to other countries under the World Trade Organization regulations. And that's what they were doing, and they were heavily fined. So it actually decreased. Some of the countries weren't taking the exports in, but then China moved the production over to Malaysia, Taiwan, actually US. They opened some manufacturers. So now they're trying to open manufacturing plants in the countries that they're actually trying to develop more solar in. So it became quite a big issue, and we had ships and ships of solar panels just offshore waiting for these trade regulations to kind of calm down. We couldn't export in and export or even export out. So there's still some of those issues going on, but at least we're getting some product in to fulfill it. So I'm wondering how England's going to get to 70 gig, because there's not a lot of, I mean, when you think of all the countries that are going renewable, you got to have capacity, right? So there's going to be quite a few plants going up. Otherwise, we won't be able to meet it. Yeah. So solar markets. There's utility, which is 1 megawatt above, right? Commercial and industrial, which is 100 kilowatt and more. And those are usually rooftop. Again, I was looking as we were driving into London, rooftop, your footprint's really low. So because you can put them on shopping malls, right? But your high rises still have a small footprint. So I think you'll see a lot offshore and utility scale. And they're small commercial. Like I have the contract with all the Starbucks. Community solar. Community solar is becoming a very, very popular thing. You don't own the system. The community, you have an owner of it, but you're buying your power from that community solar plant. And I think that's a really good way to go, actually, because a lot of people aesthetically do not like solar panels on their roof. They think they're ugly, even though they've got better looking, so, and they blend in. But there are drawbacks to having solar on your roof. The roof penetrations, if you get a bad installer, you could have some massive roof leaks. I've seen some massive roof leaks, or bad wiring. There can be some significant issues. I'm not going to try to scare you from having solar on your house, but there have been some situations that have not been pretty good because you're dealing with the electricity, right? So whatever you do, if you decide to get solar, make sure you have a really good installation partner that you're working with. So, and then there's residential. So I do see that England's going to go ahead and they'll increase up to their 70 through a lot of residential. They'll be small footprints, but I think that's the only way they're going to be able to make that 70 gig, unless they buy renewable energy credits off the market. So if they can connect to a grid, which I don't think they can. Who's your public utility company? I mean, you have small utilities, but like in the States, we have FERC, and Texas is its own island, right? They have a utility called ERCOT, and that's their public utility, right? So they manage the grid. So is there one company like FERC, Federal Energy, that owns the national grid?
The French,
Yeah, really? Okay. Well, if the French go renewable, so so what happens is they can produce solar renewable energy credits into the grid, and England can buy them to meet their quota. So it's like, yeah. Huh? Yeah. Well, there's more sun. You have sun, but the technology's changed. So I think it was 13 years ago, the Germans came up with a cell called it was PERC, right? So you used to have just strict irradiance. Well, the PERC technology allows you don't have to have full irradiance. You're going to get less production, but it does go ahead and produce under clouds, right? Because even if you've got overcast, you're still getting irradiance from the sun. So you're just not going to get the production that you thought you were going to do. You're going to get because you don't have direct sun, but you're still getting production. So I think it reduces by about 25%. So yeah. So, and then they have new ones, which are called, well, it's not new more, but it's about 6-7 years old, called bifacial. And on light roofs, and they only really work on roofs. You can't use it out in the fields. It has to be a light colored roof, a white, it can't be dark. There are cells that are underneath. And it takes the reflection underneath from the roof as well as on top, and it increases your production by 20%. So those have become very popular, but they're probably double the price. So we actually tested a system when I was at Solar World. It was one of the first one off the university, and we were just amazed. We were kind of blown away at the production level that came with it. Yeah. So the 5 benefits of going solar, right? Solar panels are becoming increasingly affordable. You can save money by going solar. You can keep the lights on when the grid goes down. We'll go through that. So you're going to hear that a lot, right? And actually, if you do residential, it actually increases the value of your home, and it's proven. It goes up between 3 to 4%. You've got added value, right? Plus, you're giving the benefit of reduced electrical costs to the new homeowner. Yeah. And solar systems work in a variety of climates because of the new technology. Then if you go with energy storage, which is the new thing, you actually can have energy independence. So if you're off grid, right, if you own a ranch and you can't get a power pole in it because it's going to cost $100,000 with the utility, they will be off grid, and they'll have up to 10 batteries to run their property. They're pumping water. Water takes a lot of energy to pump. It's actually the most, it takes the most energy, right? And AC. So they'll use a lot of energy storage to power their homes, especially at night. And then a lot of developers are using it for the utility scale because it's called peak shaving. And what happens, let me see if I can get to this next slide. Yeah. What happens is energy independence with storage and solar, right? So the batteries are being charged by the solar system during the day. And actually, so the utilities usually raise their rates at high demand times, like at dinner time, right? And it's not just the price of the kilowatt, it's also called demand charges, which are sometimes up to 75% of your bill, right? There's a lot of little taxes in there. So what they'll do is go ahead and discharge the battery at that peak time so that you're not pulling from the grid. And so you're getting that free energy. So in the utility environment, they call it peak savings because whoever they're selling the energy to, right? They're releasing that power. And so they're not having to pay those peak charges because once the sun goes out, you're not getting the benefit of the solar, right? And so that's why storage has become so popular, so demanding, is the peak shaving and the energy independence for the homeowner. So, but it's kind of difficult to measure your battery, right? In residential, you may have a salesman say, okay, you just need one battery, it'll power your whole home and pump your water. So one battery is for emergencies. It covers up to usually 4 circuits. The 4 circuits is maybe your refrigerator, your internet, TV. What else would be small? Maybe an electric oven, right? So, and then there's essentials, which could be 2 or 3 batteries, depending on your consumption levels. And then you get a bedroom, maybe your bathroom, you get power in, washer if it's electric. So, and then you can do it just depends. So you get 4 circuits per battery. So you can choose which circuits you want to offset at that point in time. And then you go into Essential Plus, what we call, just from layman's terms, where you can actually start powering your home. But it's never going to power your AC or your heating in your house for very long, maybe a couple of hours. So don't ever let anybody tell you that it's going to it's going to run your AC all night long. It's minimum 2 hours. Otherwise, it's going to take up all your power you've saved in the battery. So yeah. So actually, storage and solar have become so popular. It's batteries has actually gone down, but the energy independence and being it's much off the grid and buying from the grid is that's the next big surge in the market. Actually, all over the place. One of the peak shaving for the utility, because that means the finance company that holds that power purchase agreement actually makes more money. So it's worth them investing in that battery equipment. And then homeowners, because it's offsetting their energy costs. Again, solar, when they're setting up a proposal and they're designing a system, they're going to give you an offset of what the amount of panels that you have designed on your house, how much energy it's going to offset for your utility bill. And depending on the utility, some of them will allow you to go up to 150%, some, which is very rare, 200%, which is more than what you actually use. So you're pushing back in the grid because people want that excess money at the end of the year. However, you don't always want that because you're overspending on your money on your system size, and you really just want at least maybe 110%. And some people with solar think because they have solar and they have 150% offset, they can add a pool or hot tub, and there goes your savings. So the benefits of residential solar, because there's financing and other major incentives. So yeah. So basically, the exact savings you'll see with solar depends on the following: your electricity consumption, your solar energy system size, whether you purchase or lease your system, and that depending on the country. So I don't think that I know that you have power purchase agreements in the utility scale market, but I don't think they're available in the residential arena yet. I know I've been working with one of the presidents of the company. They've actually been trying to create a power purchase agreement over here for utilities, which is really a lease. So what you do is you lock in at a price per kilowatt rate for the next 25 years with the estimated production, and your escalation is maybe maximum 2.9%, whereas the utility actually rate usually goes up between 4 to 6%. And my research said your utility rates went up about 6% per year. So you actually have a savings over that 25-year period. And when you sell your home or something, it can actually be passed on to the new homeowner because you don't want that system to come off. We also have loans. Again, Americans are big on credit and high debt to income. Yeah. So, and also direct hours of sunlight. If you've got a lot of shading, and you don't have a south-facing roof, you're not going to get the production that you really need. You're going to have to chop down some trees or suffer. So you only get like 50% offset. Yeah. And over time, it's going to decrease your production level, and you're thinking your system's not working when it's really your trees and your overgrowth. And whoever is going to install your system, or even a manufacturer, if they see tree growth over it, they're not going, you're basically voiding the warranty. Because they're going to warrant that it's going to produce so much, but it's not going to, because of tree and shading, they're not going to honor it. So, and again, the size and angle of your roof, because your roof footprint indicates how many panels you can put on it as well. So, and then the local electricity rates, which are high. We're seeing 50% rate increases in the Northeast in our area. I don't know. Do you guys see a lot of utility rate increases per year? Yeah. So kind of, I put this one in here because I wanted to show you how they sell it. Right? So, and this is one for Texas. Texas is high sun. Their grid has been going down the last couple of years, so it's become a big generator, battery, and solar state. Whereas before you couldn't, they wouldn't talk about solar. One is because ERCOT rates are so inexpensive, right? Their prices are like 5 cents a kilowatt, but they sell it to utility providers, and then it's sold off to co-ops. So it actually turns out to be like 13 cents a kilowatt to the end consumer. But they'll do an average bill, right? And what they're not showing in here is what your offset's going to be. So they're saying, okay, over 25 years, based on the current rate of return with your utility provider with an escalation of 4%, if you do nothing, it's going to cost you $125,000. If you go solar, your total estimated solar savings is going to be $89,000. So you can look at those numbers, but you also want to know how much of that offset is and what that bill is going to look like, because they're going to convert it into a loan. And your loan then is going to be maybe a little bit lower than your current utility bill, but after month 18, it's going to go up, and you're going to be back to square one. So it's always a game, and you have to be very, very careful on how you they sell it to you, how they see it, and how you see it, and the questions that you need to ask. And offset is a big thing, and you want to ask them too what the price per kilowatt is, or average price per kilowatt you're having to pay. I'm a big warner on residential solar, only because and you guys have door knockers over here, people that knock at your door and try to sell you something.
Yeah.
Books, security systems. Yeah. Do you know these people make $1 million a year? I'm dead serious. Door knockers rule when it comes to solar. So they will sell you a bill of goods. So what they do, and I was shocked, to be quite honest with you. I'm going, I don't make that much money. So, but they're the best salesmen. And they rule the solar market. They've learned in security. What else have they sold? But security is the biggest one. But they'll come knocking at your door and they'll give you a proposal like that, and you'll probably get 50% offset because you didn't know what you were signing, and you're stuck with it for 25 years. So I'm going to tell you, be very wary of those door knockers. So because they're good at what they do. Just be very, very wary of it. Yeah. So do you guys have any questions? I thought maybe I needed to do a little bit more technical when I came up here, so I can answer some technical questions. I'm not completely illiterate. So, I've been around. I've headed some recalls. I've headed gone up to some a lot of different things, especially in the utility market. What electrical arcs have done. They've is at a utility scale site in Indiana, and there was an electrical arc. And you guys are, that's 39,000 degrees, right? So somebody had left a wire and a connector had come, it wasn't crimped right, and it blew through the substation, came back up a mile and hit a combiner box and shaved off this bolt like in half, right? It just amazes me the power of electricity and what it can do and the damage that can occur if just one small error is made. Yeah. Huh?
Have you solved some?
Yeah, I do. So, yeah. Yeah. No. So yeah. No, I sold the utility scale market to Duke Energy, JP Morgan Chase, Starbucks. I've actually the utility market, I think sold over 200 megs. Yeah. And then I worked for a panel manufacturer at that point in time, and we did power projects, and a lot of panel manufacturers, because of the tariff issues, they actually went bankrupt, and we're following on, and we were one of the last man standing. So I was asked to go over to this residential EPC and grow the company nationwide. And it was very, very different for me. I would go back to utility. So, residential is a tough market. It's fun to see it grow. It's fun to work the footprint. I work with Climate Master and partnering it with geothermal because sustainability and net zero is a huge thing within the U.S., especially for new homes and the millennial. Very climate and conscious. So we were trying to partner with them, Linux, partnering with them to offset some of the energy costs, things like that. So and now I was telling Ruth, I was thinking about leaving, and I worked in sales, I've done program management, I've worked in operations, and I was offered a job in quality assurance. And I've always known quality assurance as the manufacturing, it's called the fab, right? And so as a manufacturing plant, if an error occurs in the production process, you have an and it stops production, and you have a problem, you do a root cause analysis, you fix the problem, and production gets back moving forward. So, and this time it's Q&A, and I'm customer facing. So I'm doing the quality control for customer facing third parties and installation partners and the utilities. So I never knew that quality assurance had to do with customer facing and your relationships and your how you move forward with them and the processes that you put in place for review and relationship building. So I'm learning a new language again. So again, I went from IT to megawatts and kilowatts, and when I got there, I was going, how do you calculate this? So it was a completely new math. So now I'm learning EOQs, step charts, Pareto's more, things I haven't used in 40 years. So, but it's fun. It's fun changing markets. It's fun changing jobs and learning different things all the time. So, yeah. I'd do it again. So, and I thought I was going to be kind of moving back into utility for a while, but I'm going to stick with some quality and learn it. Yeah. So I do advise if you get the opportunity to try something, new things. I mean, I know you've got your majors and where you want to go, but it doesn't hurt to kind of open your eyes because everything's a new education, right? And I think once you stop learning, you stop living. So always keep evolving and learning new things. So yeah, it's scary, but somebody told me you got to get on that seesaw and ride it out. So yeah, and it helps you build your confidence and just keeps moving, keeps life interesting. So yeah.
There is any question from the online?
Huh?
You got any question from online?
Oh, any questions from online? I'm sorry, I think I forgot about you guys. Yeah, yeah. No? Oh,
Hi, yeah, hi,
Sorry.
can you hear me? Yeah, my name is
Yeah.
Raja, and I think that I just wanted to ask about residential energy. So actually, if I were to put solar panels on my house that is facing south, let's say I'm talking about a house in Texas, because I think you can relate to the pricing, the electricity pricing. So I just want to ask about payback. Let's say from where you come from, if we put an effective solar system on the roof, and and you can tell me what the costs are. What is the payback period? After how many years can I make back my money of the cost I put the solar system up? I know that there's a lot of parameters, but what is your estimate of the payback period?
Well, your payback period, you really don't want to go more than 7.5 years. So that's the old rule of thumb. Some people are going up to 9, but if they're saying your payback period and you're going to start being paid back for the costs is 10 years, don't do it. So you also want to look at your price per watt that they're charging.
Yeah.
So the average price per watt in Texas right now is about $3.25 per watt. If you're paying more than that, don't. You're being ripped off. You call me. Because solar has gone down and in Texas, unfortunately, we do have these door knockers or sales teams. And what happens is somebody like my company, we give them a red line, and that red line is like $2.10. So anything above that, they make. So they'd be charging you $4 or $5. And they're taking away 30, 40 grand in commission. So, and you're paying that price where your average market price should be about $3.25 a watt. And that would be all in.
Right.
That
And
covers your permit fees, that covers your utility fees, that covers your meter, your engineering, design, procurement, and a little bit of profit. And your salesman is still making a really good commission.
Right. And
so
how about
you could actually even go lower to about 285, but you're pushing at that point in time.
Yeah. How about with the battery storage? I mean, I'm sure that with the battery storage, the payback can be quicker.
Yes.
So with the battery storage, what in your estimate are you looking at payback?
Well, batteries are about 13,000 installed each, right? And then your battery, it's going to be dependent how much storage you want and how long lasting the battery is going to be. Let's say an N-phase battery is 10 kilowatts, right? It's going to last 4 or 5 hours, maybe 12, depending on what circuits you're using. Yeah. Whereas a storage battery is 15 hours. So it really, and it's about the same price point. So it's all dependent on the brand and capacity as to what your payback is going to be. And it's going to be a longer payback. And what you really wanted to do, and when they're calculating that payback, I don't know if you saw my slide on that demand where the offset is, right, on the peak hours. You want to kind of depend, because when the sun goes down, so how solar works in residential is during the day, your solar system is operating all day long, and at night, so your house uses up what it's producing. Any excess past, and that's why they change meters. Any excess past that point goes back to the grid. So they're giving you credit on that grid in the evening time, right? What that excess is produced, right? And that what you haven't used. So, but if you're pulling from the grid because you've used all your capacity, you're going to be getting those high demand charges and that higher price per kilowatt hour because it's peak hours. So I don't know if you've ever looked at your utility bill, and I don't know, and I'm sorry, I don't know if it's the same in England, but we have different rates for different times. Do you have the same thing?
Yeah.
Peak hours? Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
commercial properties do, but
Yeah.
generally speaking,
Yes.
residential.
Don't, yeah.
normal people know is flatly.
Okay, so because we have those peak hours and our price per kilowatt can go up to 10 cents more, or sometimes even 15 or 20, right? During those peak hours, that 2-hour window, the utility makes a lot of money. So your battery would basically discharge at that point in time. And you wouldn't pay those peak hours. So over time, it would pay back itself, but it's going to be a longer period. It depends on how much you want energy independence. We've had a lot of natural disasters lately, a lot of hurricanes, tornadoes, freezes. The grids keeps going down. You know, if you want power during those point that time period, then you get a battery or a generator, right? So because you can tie in a generator with your solar system that'll actually turn on automatically, it'll flip a switch. So when the power goes out, you can use your generator or you can use the batteries. So at one point in time, I preferred the generators, but I'm actually starting to lean a little bit more towards the batteries as the prices are going down. And you can actually get more to offset more circuits in your house. So it just, I think you can build upon it. And the batteries are going down and they're handling more capacity, because at one point in time, the batteries were like 20 grand. And that's a lot of money versus 13. And that's 20 grand not installed. So, but now there are 13 all in, and that includes installation, and they're going to continue to go down because there's more competition coming out there in the market and better technology all the time. So I don't know if this helps you at all, but this is kind of the breakdown of the home's use and how much energy they use and how much we see it. The other thing you can do is a smart meter, a smart thermostat actually helps you save money. There's some really cool technology like Span.io out there. It's kind of expensive. It's an intelligent main panel unit. But you have an app on your phone with it, so you can see where the high usage is. So you can track it with your solar system or your battery units. And it actually saves you quite a bit of money. So over time, because you can see which rooms are actually using more electricity than others. So if you thought this one did, or there, say I got my TV, my computer, things that you keep plugged in, they're still using energy, but it could be actually your son's room. So maybe it's his water tank or something like that, his fish tank. So, so we're seeing a lot of those being installed too, as the smart meters, or the Span.ios and the thermostats, the smart thermostats. So, and some of the utility, I don't know if your utility companies over here, but some of our utility companies are offering smart thermostats for free. You have to apply for it, or you get a nice rebate, or you get a hefty discount off of them. So they are encouraging those. So, with solar in the United States, with the public utility commissions, our utilities and states have to, like in England, they stated they're going to be net zero at a certain time, and they have a goal of being at 70 gigawatts by 2030 in solar. Our states and they have to state that they're going to be getting this amount of renewable energy by a certain amount of time. Let's say the state of Illinois, they're actually quite behind, but they said by 2030, they're going to be pulling 20% of their energy from renewables. They're only at 8% right now. So they actually put some incentives in place, like ASHRAEs. They're buying ASHRAEs. They're rebates to try to get more rooftop to meet their capacity levels, and a lot of community solar. So I wouldn't be surprised based on the aggressiveness of England and what they're trying to do if they're going to try to put some more incentives out there as well. So because you have some solar out there, right? But that's 70 gigs, man. I keep thinking about that. That's kind of blew me away. You're going to see a lot more rooftop because that's how they're going to push it to the grid and help some of that. Yeah. So I'm surprised there's not more incentives. Are there more incentives than the net metering? Or I read about the grants, but I tried to apply for one, but it looked more for low income. So. And there's going to be a lot of roofs that need to be replaced. If I was a roofer, I'd start doing it because I saw a lot of bad roofs out there and you can't install on bad roofs. So the new market, yeah. Your roof life has to have at least 10 years before somebody consciously should not install solar on it. You can get a 50-year life composite tile or a 30-year. And I would highly recommend getting a new roof before you get solar. Even though they're going to tell you it's going to ruin the warranty, it normally doesn't. I would have your installer, whoever does it, give you a production guarantee and a roof warranty against penetrations for at least 10 years. Because if you don't, you're going to have to pay for to uninstall and reinstall it at about $7,000. And you don't really want to do that. So yeah, so I would get your new roof first and then do your solar. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot for your answer.
You're welcome. Yeah. So yeah. Any questions?
Yeah. One question from me. Thanks for your presentation. For in America, for the application in residential application of solar electricity, so will it be connected to the grid and also the battery?
Yeah, you have to be connected to the grid. So you can be off grid, but a lot of utilities won't allow it. And the only time they'll allow it, especially in a highly populated area, is if you have no electricity poles, right? So if they have a ranch or you're in Timbuktu and there's no, otherwise they're not allowing you to be off the grid. So what happens is you're tied to the grid. So there's grid tied batteries and non-grid tied batteries. So, but the normal batteries are grid tied. So because your solar system, this is the worst part about it. And people don't, they think when they have solar, they're going to have constant electricity. They're not. They're tied to the grid. If the grid goes down, their power's out. So that's why they get the battery backup, because it stores the energy in your house. Depending on how many circuits you want to keep going, it'll keep going, right? So, and then also some utilities are actually, if you're storing power in the grid, there's one in California called SMUD. They encourage you to buy batteries. They actually give you a credit on your utility bill because as it stores, they actually want to pull that power to get to apply to their solar renewable energy credit and the percentage that they agreed to. So
the excess power generation generated will be sold to grid.
You could, yeah. So yeah. So depending on your utility, they could want to buy it. Yeah. So. But it's just there for, and then again, as the sun goes down and you're not getting the irradiance and you're not producing power, you're going to be using the power from the batteries to continue to reduce your utility, your bill. So, because if you're using excess, right, if you're actually pulling from the grid, at the end of the 12-month period, you're going to get a true up bill. From them. So they'll lock you into a rate, but anything that excess that you pulled in from the grid that you weren't able to pull in from your solar system and battery, you're going to get charged for it. So, and that is sometimes a big surprise for people, as they weren't conscious of that true up bill. And that's why I say, okay, because when they measure your offset and the footprint and the amount of panels that you need on your house, they're looking at your utility bill, and they need to look at 12 months, right, to really get a feel of how much you've been using over that 12 months, because your usage changes, right? Summer is usually higher because you're maybe using air conditioning or something. Then winter's higher because you're using heat. And I think your heat source is more oil over here and coal, right? Still. Or fire.
Are you using heat pump?
You use heat pump? Now, if you're using solar and a heat pump, you're in a really good position. I'll be honest with you. They complement each other from an energy savings perspective. a lot, as long as you're at maybe a 17 SEER. If you're a 14, 12, 14, you need to upgrade a little bit. So, because it's using a lot of power. Yeah. So, but yeah. So if you can upgrade, would you say a 17 SEER? Yeah. So, but yeah, I would go 17 SEER. Don't let them sell you on like a 13, 14 SEER. Yeah. So if you're going to invest, just do it. Yeah. So yeah. But no, it'll push back. The battery power will push back to the grid, so, yeah, if necessary. But you want to really keep it to your house if you can, and the utility will buy it if they allow for it. So just to meet their quota. Yeah. So New Jersey was doing it for a while as well, but they met their quota. I like the ASHRAE market because so if your house produces so much energy, it'll create what they call a megawatt, and for every megawatt that you produce, you get like a $300 ASHRAE credit, right? And then you can sell them on the market, and so that's just money, straight money in your pocket. Yeah. So
If the solar electricity is not enough for
Mhm.
heating, so what to do? You have a system, heating system, you have a gas boiler or
well, a heat pump would be both, right? A heat pump is both air and heat. So if you have a heat pump, you're doing pretty good. If you're doing forced air and AC, then you're going to be using a lot of energy. So
Use it for heat pumps.
I know, but heat pumps are more they're just more energy efficient.
I'll debate that.
Yeah. So okay. So they sold heat pumps with solar in Florida and they killed it because they were
Yeah,
able
okay,
to.
that's
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah,
Because you've
that's
got
right,
no
yeah.
heat in Florida.
That's true. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that. Yeah, because
Yeah,
it was mostly AC. Yeah.
Well, the
yeah,
AC part of
yeah,
it, I totally agree with
Yeah.
you.
So,
But
the
it
heat.
cannot use, most of the states have backup
Yeah.
gas or
Yeah.
backup propane
Yeah.
in the wintertime because the heat pump technology is not such, under 30 degrees.
You're right.
You're
Yeah.
not gonna have it.
You didn't think about that because you're in a colder environment, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go home and find out now. So, okay. So,
yeah.
because I was working with an AC, a solar heat pump manufacturer. We were trying to figure out what the cost savings was. There's Department of Energy has this analysis on there, but we apply solar offset versus heat pump or 17 SEER. And for some reason, we could not figure out the calculation.
And the
uh,
cooling side is easy.
Yeah, but it was the heat.
The
Yeah.
heating side
Yeah.
is where,
Yeah.
when it reverses.
Yeah.
When you're trying to, there's so little
Yeah.
energy in the air when the air gets cold.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That
So,
it's really hard for the heat pump
Yeah.
to
reduce. Yeah.
get the energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's where they really, it sucks as far as energy and they use a lot of heat strips in the US now. And that just kills it.
Yeah.
It absolutely kills it. So like in Atlanta where I am,
It's just the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
where I am in Atlanta, there is anybody who's got a heat pump has gas heating backup.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they should. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just, it's not an
Yeah.
option.
No. Well, because you have to have the heat. Yeah.
Well, yeah, or you use heat strips and then your utility bill goes like this.
Yeah. So that's right.
Yeah.
It
So
becomes
just-
unaffordable. Yeah.
It
So,
becomes unaffordable.
Yeah.
So the cooling side is great. Go to
Yeah.
Florida,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
go to
yeah.
Southern California.
Yeah.
Go to
Yeah.
Texas.
So yeah, because I'm going to tell you, I don't use AC and I rarely use heat. So I'm kind of guilty. So yeah.
Live in Atlanta in the summer.
I know. I live at the beach in Southern California. So I don't know how I'm going to move because I'm so acclimated to 80-degree weather that's got a nice breeze all the time. So yeah. And then I think if I go to Palm Springs or Arizona, 122-degree heat just isn't me. So yeah. Can I have some water?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Any other questions that I can? Yeah. You don't have any questions? Yes. Oh, okay. I thought you were going to ask me something technical that I couldn't answer. So. Thank you guys very much for your patience. Yeah.
Thanks, Carol. Thanks for your excellent presentation. Yeah, thanks again for Ruth and Carol for their excellent presentation today. And thanks for the attendance today for the webinar and the presentation. Yeah. So if there are no more questions, I think I would like to close today's webinar. And thanks again and for the presentations and also for the attendance. Thank you.
Thanks very much,
Thank you.
Professor Kim.
Thank you, Mara. Bye, Mara.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.